Hello and welcome back to Costing Out the Spiced Pecans and Brown Rice Saga. So now I want to focus on the green onions. The green onions are kind of a weird little ingredient here because this one is asking for a count. So what it wants you to do is, the way I'm interpreting it is you just get three green onions and use what you get. It doesn't have a weight associated with it, so I don't need a set amount of green onions. Just get three and use it. So I'm going to go find my price for green onions, and I look that up, and I find that I can get some green onions for, it looks like about $5.12 for 2 pounds. So $5.12 for 2 pounds worth. Okay, so that's not too bad. That's workable. We can deal with that. Now, a green onion, fairly light product. Chances are this three count is probably going to be converted into ounces would be my guess. I very doubt that that's going to be anywhere near a pound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get myself an APC unit price in ounces. So we'll take this $5.12 and we'll divide it by 2 pounds. And that'll give us our price per pound. So when I do $5.12 and I divide that by 2, I get $2.56 per pound, which is not bad. And that is a unit price. I could put that here if I wanted to, but it's going to be easier for us if I take this down into ounces because, again, that 3 count green onion, nowhere near a pound. So I'm going to take that 256 and divide by 16 because there's 16 ounces per pound. And when I do that, I end up finding that it's about 16 cents per ounce. 16 cents per ounce. There's my APC. That's what I'm going to put in my APC unit price here. So I'll have 0.16 per ounce. Now, I don't know if those of you noticed, but I've been using the slash to represent per this whole time I've been doing the APCs. It just makes my life easier so I don't have to keep, putting down PER, per. I do the slash, it means per, and it helps remind me that I'm doing division when I go back and look at this later on. Okay, so now we're at the revised quantity. I've got to see, does this unit here in the APC match the unit in the recipe? And that's a big old no, it does not, because I'm looking at ounces versus count. So we're going to have to figure out how can I take this 3 count and turn it into ounces. That's what I'm looking for here in the revised quantity. I'm going to have to do some form of conversion. Now, what this means is you kind of have to do some legwork. You have to figure out how heavy is a green onion, and from there figure out how heavy would 3 green onions be. Well, when I think about it, I can go on Google. I go on Google and I type in, the weight of a green onion, and I get all kinds of crazy stuff here. So I look at that a little bit, and I looked at the Book of Yields. That if you saw that on the Moodle page, it's a really handy resource, good thing to pick up if you get a chance. I looked in the book, and in the front section under vegetables, where it tells me kind of all the different stuff about veggies, it tells me that there's about 7 green onions per bunch. And this kind of matches up pretty well with what I'm finding online. So if I know that there's 7 green onions per bunch, that's a good start. And one nice thing about this purchasing price that I found is that it told me that in that 2 pounds, each bunch was 4 ounces. So 1 piece of information, 2 pieces of information. This is actually really helpful because knowing this means I can take the weight of this bunch and divide it by 7, and that'll tell me roughly how much each green onion weighs. So 4 ounces divided by 7 green onions, and this will tell me the ounces per onion. So when I do 4 divided by 7, I end up with a really weird decimal. It's 0.571428, blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to take it 4 places. 5714 ounces per onion. Now that's per 1 onion, but this recipe calls for 3 onions. So all I gotta do is take that answer and multiply it by 3, and I end up with, for 3 green onions, I have 1.57 1.7142857, blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to do 1.7143, rounding it off. And you might want to double check my math in your calculator and make sure that that is correct. Hopefully, we're good to go on that one. So take a moment to check that and verify that it's good to go. So we took the weight of a bunch, 4 ounces, divided by 7, which is roughly how many green onions there are per bunch, and that gave us that 0.5 something, and we multiplied it by 3 to get the 1.7143. And that's a revised quantity for the green onions. Now, we get to the part that I've been kind of telling you, just don't worry about, ignore, because we'll talk about it later. And same idea here. Green onions. We all know that unless you're using them as a garnish, there is fabrication involved. However, the way this recipe is, I'm interpreting it, it says just get 3 green onions and use what you get, which means it doesn't really matter about the yield percentage. I'm not looking for 3 ounces of green onion, because if I did, then I'd have to be concerned about the yield percentage. But for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it. Whoops, sorry, didn't mean to use the wrong tool there. I'm going to leave it as 100%, mainly because the recipe is telling me just get 3, use what I get. So if I need 1.7143 ounces of green onion, I'm going to get 1.7143 ounces of green onion. And obviously that'll vary depending on the size of the green onions, but that's a good kind of ballpark estimate there for us. So for our final cost, all we're going to do is take the 1.7143 and times it by the 0.16. So that's going to give us 7143. It's going to give us 0.274288, or we can round that off to be 28 cents. So it'll cost us about 28 cents to buy those 3 green onions. Or more appropriately, we've already spent the $5.12, and for this recipe, we're going to recoup 28 cents. Thanks for watching. Hopefully that helped out.